Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Kathryn. I'm a cybersecurity professional in Tokyo, Japan. Today I will be talking about how I passed the CISSP with only 1.5 years of experience in IT. Yeah, so in this video I'm going to be sharing what kind of materials I use to study and prep for the exam and how long I prepared, and also what kind of experience I already have and what kind of strategies I took also for the exam. Yeah, so before we begin, I'm just gonna mention that the CISSP prep is different for every single person. So what I mention is in this video is just what I did, and I'm just sharing this because I think it might be relevant for some people, and you can take some bits from my studies, or it's kind of just to help you save time on making your own study plan. So yeah, don't just do everything I did, just choose what works for you, and add more if you need to. So yeah, I'm just gonna mention that first. Okay, that's that. And well, before we begin, I'm just going to share a little bit about my experience, how much experience I have, and just to give you kind of an idea of like what my state was when I started studying for the exam. Yeah, so as I've mentioned earlier in the video, I've only been in this field, cybersecurity, for a year and a half, and also I've only been in IT for a year and a half. So yeah, I have a degree in law, an undergraduate degree. So I didn't do like a engineering cybersecurity whatsoever degree. So I've had zero background in IT. So it's like what is bits and bytes, that kind of that kind of stuff. And I joined an IT vendor, so I had to learn like the basic cloud computing concepts, or the database and the basics that I need to know in IT. So I did that, and then I've been working as a cybersecurity consultant, mainly in identity and access management. So I have experience in that area for like about a year. I have had some experiences in some projects. Yeah, so that's just all about the experience that I have in IT. Yeah. So in CISSP, I don't know if you guys know, I don't know how much you guys know, but there's 8 domains. So from physical security to identity access management, network, and also like law and regulations and etc. So of the 8 domains, usually people, when they start studying for the exam, the CISSP, they say that the ISC square, they say that usually you would be familiar with maybe 2 domains, and then the other 6 domains you'll have to completely study it. But in my case, so I had a bit of knowledge on identity and access management, and also because I have a degree in law, it wasn't too difficult for me to learn the regulations, the law and regulations domain as well. But yeah, it's not like I was familiar with the laws. It's for example, like, did I know what a PCI DSS was? No, I had no idea what that was. But it's just I had kind of like a framework, or I knew how to study that domain, so it made it a little bit easier. And with identity and access management, I had some experience in it, so it was a little bit easier for me to understand the concepts, but there were a lot of gaps that I still didn't know. So, well, yes, I could say I was familiar with 2 of the domains, but not so much. yeah, so that's how I was in the beginning. And so basically I couldn't really skip and like be like, oh, I know this idea, it's fine, blah blah blah, keep going. I had to like basically learn everything properly from the beginning. Okay, so how did I prepare? First of all, how long did I prepare? I started studying around January this year, and then I took the exam in September. So, yeah, it's been over 6 months. But as you guys know, the exam changed in May, so they republished a new book. No, I mean, most of it is similar, but I mean, I consider it to be a pretty different book. So let's just say it's a new book. So I started studying from January, and then I was only reading. I wasn't actually thinking about taking the exam. I was just reading the chapters so that I can, learn the concepts of cybersecurity. So I did that from like January to April. I was kind of thinking about taking the test, but then they published a new book. Well, I mean, we all knew it was coming, but I wasn't ready by then to take the exam. So I again started reading the book properly, the new book, the 9th edition from May. And then I did that for like 4 weeks. And then after that, I started taking the practice exams, and so I did that for like 2 months. And then I took the exam in the beginning of September. Yeah, so it's May, June, July, August. It's like 4 months, but then I got a bit busy with work in May. So, I think like it was only like 3 months that I really, really studied intensely. But yeah, my study journey was pretty long. Yeah, so that's how long I studied for it. But I think usually, if you can, if in my case, I'm not really good at making a concrete study plan, because say, like if I have to study this chapter, like 2 chapters a day, every day, and then if I take a break, it's death for me or something, then I don't have enough energy to keep going. I would just like burn out. So I didn't think too much about like when the deadline is, when I have to take it. But I guess one thing is that because I'm changing jobs from October, so I have some points that I can use at my current company. So I was intending on using that points up to pay for the exam. So I guess the deadline was the end of September. So I kind of had a deadline, but it's not like I already registered for the exam 3 months from, 3 months later or anything like that. But yeah, that was that. And so yeah, the materials that I used is, I didn't use, well, I guess I used quite a bit. Well, first of all, I got the official study guide that I've been mentioning, the 9th edition, the newest version, and also the 3rd edition of the practice test, the official practice tests. And I based my studies on these two, well, on the official study guide mostly. So yeah, that was kind of like the book that I would check with everything. But then I also used Sari Green, her O'Reilly test crash exams, crash course that she has. It's like I took like the 2-day course, but it was because I'm in Japan, it was happening, around midtime till the early morning. So I just watched the recording, yeah, of like a 2-day course. And also I watched Thor Peterson's courses on Udemy, but I didn't watch all of his. I only watched domain 3 and 4 of his video boot camp because I was weak on those areas. I didn't watch all of his videos. So video-wise, those two, and actually I watched Mike Chappell's course on LinkedIn Learning as well, really early on in my studies. That was like in January or February. So I watched 3 video courses, and other than that, I didn't buy like additional resources. I just used the official study guide, and then if I couldn't understand something, I would watch the video courses, or usually I would Google everything. Yeah. So I didn't have like other materials for that. But yeah, so how did I use these materials? Well, as I've mentioned, first I focused on reading the official study guide. Yeah, so that was for about 1 month or a bit more. And while reading it, what I tried to do was, well, I read it 2 times, maybe 3 times. The first time I just skimmed through, I just focused on trying to get through the book. And then the second time I read it like properly, and I googled the things that I didn't know. And then the third time was, I'll explain it later, but I had a third time. But anyways, I went through it twice. And then after that, I did the practice tests on the official study guide. So there's like 21 to 22 chapters in the official study guide. And at the end of every chapter, there's like 20 questions that you can answer. So I did those tests. And then after that, I also bought the practice exams, the official practice exams. So I practiced on those. Yeah. And one thing that I don't know, maybe you guys should know, is that the when you purchase these 2 official study guides, you don't have to practice on paper. So like in the first few pages, I don't remember where it was exactly, but when you're reading like through the pages, it mentions that you can log into the Willys Civex, like a online test system. So it basically lets you practice just like as if in the actual exam on the computer. So I recommend you logging into that system and practice on that, and it will be so much easier than reading through and then going to another page to check the answer and so on. Anyways, so I did that, and then yeah, so I went through the book, I did all the practice tests, but then like I was only scoring like 56-7%, and you need a 70% at least to pass the exam. So I was like, okay, this is not working. How am I gonna pass this? So yeah, my problem was that because like I was only kind of memorizing the answers, or just kind of trying to know the words that I need to know for the exam. So I didn't quite understand, what the material was, what these concepts were, and how I was supposed to use these concepts to explain something to a client, or explain something to, even to yourself. So what I did next was that I used the practice exams. So like I would say, take like the random test for all the domains, and then figure out which domains I was weak at. So in my case, I wasn't really good with domain 3 and 4. Yeah, so the technical parts, I wasn't exactly great at it. So I would take those, and then I would identify that I wasn't good at these domains, and then I will go through the questions that I got wrong again, and then try to identify, what exactly I didn't understand. So for example, in my case, I didn't quite understand what switches routers were, and how they operate at which like OSI level. So I have a notebook that I had all my notes, and then like I see the OSI model like 6 times in the book. Yeah, so I did that, and then on top of that, I was still like just memorizing the answers, so I couldn't quite get a grasp of like what it's actually about. So I went on to Thor Peterson's Udemy courses, and then I watched his Domain 3 and 4. And well, not all of it was relevant. Some of it was a little too technical for the exam, in my opinion. But it gave me, it was a really good way to allow me to understand the concepts and then have a better understanding. So yeah, I went and watched those videos, but I didn't watch the whole thing. Like some bits I just, skipped a little. So I did that, and I improved on that domain, but I would still have questions that I would keep making a mistake on. So I would read the answer and then really try to understand like how I was supposed to read the questions and what the questions were asking, and sort of try to develop a way or the mentality for the exam. So with the CISSP, it's not just like, okay, which layer does the switch exist in or operate in? Like some questions are like that, but usually it's like which one is the best answer or best option in this scenario or situation, something like that. So, I can't explain the details of the questions because I signed a non-disclosure agreement. But I think this is okay. Like, the whole point of the exam is to be able to think like a manager and make decisions like a manager. So, I had to prepare myself to think like a manager and decide like a manager. So yeah, I think it's a good way to read the answers and really understand like how you were supposed to think to choose that answer. So I kept doing that, and then in the end I went through all the questions until I could answer all of them without memorizing the answer. So like I would look at the other options and be able to explain like, oh, this one is wrong because blah blah blah, and this one is the answer because blah blah blah. Not just like, oh, this one I've seen PCIDS says it's this one. Not like that. So yeah, that's how I prepared. And the 2 other video courses I forgot to mention. One by Mike Chappell. He's the author of the official study guide. But I watched this video at the very beginning of the my study journey. So in January, and I was just going through it just to get like an understanding of how the exam works. And to be honest, it was fun because I had no idea what was going on. But then I don't think it's exactly for the exam. Some is a little too technical, and I think like especially if you're like a very techie person, you're gonna get too much into the details and have too much fun with it, and you'll spend like too much time on trying to understand everything there. So if you're starting out now and if you just kind of want to have fun, then maybe it's okay. But if you want to be time efficient, I don't exactly recommend you watching it. And instead of that, I recommend you watching Sari Stern's video, Sari Green Stern. Yeah, her videos. Because like her videos, the one I watched was the crash course. So it wasn't covering the details, but it really gave you a good understanding of like what the exam is about, how you need to think, how you're gonna address the questions, and basically it's a good way to start. Or maybe even, you could watch it later too, but I think it kind of gives you like a false idea of like, oh, if I understand all the things that she says in this course and if I can answer all the questions, I'll be able to pass. I don't think that's quite it. You have to really understand everything in the official guide, not what she says in the videos. So I recommend you watching it like probably in the beginning, you know, say like if you get bored reading the official guide, or you can watch it then, or you know, before, just to give you like a good push to start reading the official guide. I recommend you watching that. Yeah, but yeah, that's all the materials I used. But I recommend you sticking to the official study guide. I know it's like, I didn't buy the actual book, but I've seen somebody else's video showing the book. It's pretty thick. I bought it on Kindle, but even on Kindle, it's like, you know, you flip the pages, it keeps going, and like, when is this ever gonna end? It's it's insane. Yeah, I know. So it's like, you know, if you're just reading every day, little by little, I know it might just like, you might get burnt out. You might just be like, oh, why am I doing this? You know, this is too much. I know, but you just, you know, trust me, just stick to it. Try to get through it. And yeah, a lot of people say it gets harder, but it gets easier because you'll learn more, and then you'll know, you know, gradually you'll be able to answer questions. So yeah, don't worry about it, keep going. And yeah, but don't just be happy that you finished reading the book. Make sure you practice, practice, practice. I took the practice exams for like 2 months. Yeah, 2 months. Every day, questions little by little. It really does like drain you. Trust me, I was really tired. Oh yeah. But like, you know, if you know how to answer the questions, you get used to it. So like, I didn't have a problem with time when I was taking the exam on the actual day. I think I finished my exam in like an hour and a half or something. It wasn't that bad. So yeah, um, good luck with your studies, and um, let me know what you think about my study plan and how I studied. And you know, you can just write like, oh, I'm taking the exam soon, like, I don't know, give me a heads up or whatever. But yeah, good luck, and I hope this video helps you in some kind of way. And thank you for watching. Bye.